The Toronto Raptors have shown interest in making Ricky Rubio the point guard replacement if they trade Kyle Lowry. So in this video, we're going to go over if this is a good decision for the franchise. Let's get into it. Welcome to Amateur Sports. This is the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors. We do a ton of videos, we do a ton of live stream watch-alongs like the one we did last night for the awful game against the Detroit Pistons. That's why we're not doing a roundup today, because I don't ever want to think about that game again. But nonetheless, make sure if you enjoy the content, you enjoy me talking about the Raptors, you like the video to help us reach some new viewers, and subscribe to Amateur Sports for more content just like this. By the way, on our live streams, we're doing a ton of work to raise money for two great charities, Sick Kids Hospitals and the Canadian Cancer Society. So to support those great causes, use the donation link in the description, or just come to the streams and show some support. We have streams going on all this week and all of next week for those great causes, so hope to see some of you guys there. But that's enough on that. Let's get into our topic for today. The topic of today's video is, as you heard in the intro and in the thumbnail, Ricky Rubio. And there's been some small reports, no major sources have really reported this, but some sources have come out to say that the Raptors are interested in making Ricky Rubio Kyle Lowry's replacement, because, Kyle Lowry at the end of the season is a free agent. Maybe the Raptors are deciding that they don't want to pay him what he wants, and they've, kind of feel the market and decided that it might be best to get something for Lowry now than nothing for him in the summer. Now, I'm not really talking about what I think about the Raptors trading Kyle Lowry at this present moment, because I've already talked about that in so many videos. We're really talking about if the Raptors do trade Kyle Lowry, would it be a good idea to bring in Ricky Rubio? Now, to start off with this, I have a soft spot for Ricky Rubio. I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a big soft spot for Ricky Rubio. I actually own a Ricky Rubio jersey, and for a school project last year, I made a Ricky Rubio fan account that I ran for only a week. I don't continue to run that account. But anyways, I do have a soft spot for Ricky Rubio. I'm going to try to be the least biased towards a player I like as possible, because this is an actual rumor that is going on in the NBA if the Raptors should bring Ricky Rubio in to replace Lowry. Now, to start off, I want to make it absolutely clear, this report is not suggesting that the Raptors are going to trade Kyle Lowry to the Minnesota Timberwolves and bring in a package around Ricky Rubio to replace him. That is just completely insane. First of all, why on earth would the Minnesota Timberwolves want Kyle Lowry right now? They are not making a push for the playoffs. They are not a contender at all. It doesn't make sense to bring in Kyle Lowry for half a season and lose him in free agency. That would be very dumb. And for the Raptors' sake, what do the Minnesota Timberwolves really have to throw us to want to trade Kyle Lowry there? I mean, we have to trade around Ricky Rubio. I mean, what else? They'd probably have to give us Anthony Edwards for the Raptors to even want to do that. So that trade would not happen. But what this rumor is suggesting is that the Raptors could be making a trade with another team, and then in an entirely separate trade, they bring Ricky Rubio in to replace and fill the void in that point guard position. Or this could be a three-team trade. So maybe the Raptors want to trade Lowry to Philly. Philly will send something to the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves will send Ricky Rubio, and maybe you'll get, obviously, some other stuff in that trade as well. This is not a straight-up Lowry for a package around Rubio trade. This is either a three-team trade or it is two separate trades. This is really in the event that if the Raptors do not have Kyle Lowry anymore, Ricky Rubio would be the point guard to fill in the void. We would pick up the pieces. We would move around the starting lineup. We would tinker it so that we would get Fred VanVleet at the point guard position, Norman Powell at the shooting guard, and then you've got OG, Siakam, and Baines as the probable starting lineup if you do lose Kyle Lowry. And some people would argue that that is the best starting five the Raptors can play. I would imagine Ricky Rubio would be coming off the bench if he did come to the Raptors. So let's talk about this fit. Ricky Rubio has not fit in very well with the Minnesota Timberwolves. He is definitely struggling. He is shooting 39% from the field this season, 32% from three, only 8 points per game, over 6 assists per game. Not a usual Ricky Rubio stat line by any means. Usually what you can expect him to put up is what he put up last season with the Phoenix Suns. He put up 13 points per game, almost 9 assists per game, about 42% from the field, about low 30s from three. That is about what you can expect from Ricky Rubio, a guy who can be almost a double-double machine with like 10 points, 10 assists per game, and just be a pure point guard. Be that pure point guard, be the playmaker, be the guy that stays out of the way of the other players just as the court facilitator. He's not going to do anything special, and to some people, that makes him trash. To me, Ricky Rubio is, he's not a great player. Obviously, he's not a great player, but he's a fine player. Ricky Rubio is a guy who facilitates the ball very well. He's a good playmaker. He has great vision on the court, great court awareness, knows how to play somewhat decent defense. He's a fine player. He's nothing special, but this is a guy that you have on your team to make the job of the real shooters, the real stars, and the real slashers. It makes their job even easier because he gets out of their way and finds them in those little pockets and playmakes, gives them and makes their life easier, gives them good passes, sets up opportunities, racks up assists. And I think that for the Raptors, who do somewhat struggle to create good shooting opportunities with their second unit, sometimes the second unit just doesn't have that discernible playmaker on the court, especially when the Raptors have injuries, like we saw yesterday against the Pistons with our depth really not coming and showing up to that game. But to have a guy coming off the bench who can really run a second unit, that's kind of what the Raptors have been missing. And if they do move on from Kyle Lowry, they would need more players to help aid and run that second unit. So bringing in Ricky Rubio to do that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. He would probably be cheap. He does make a ton of money. That is a problem. But maybe that's why this could turn into a 3-team trade, because Ricky Rubio makes a lot. We know he makes a lot. He makes $17 million a season. That's a lot for Ricky Rubio. In all honesty, that's overpaid for Ricky Rubio. But to balance out contract situations, if the Raptors want to bring in prospects or picks for Kyle Lowry for stuff that they could use in the future, they would still have to retain a bunch of salary because Kyle Lowry makes over $30 million. So bringing in a $17 million contract in Rubio to just be a backup point guard, to run a second unit, and bringing in prospects to the Raptors, that makes somewhat some sense to me. It's kind of odd that they've pinned Ricky Rubio as their guy, but clearly the fit in Minnesota is not there. Ricky Rubio is better than his numbers this season are showing. He's definitely not trash. If you watch Ricky Rubio play, he is not trash, but he's nothing special. We know that. He's just a fine player. He's a role player on a team. He's a guy that if you have great players around him, he's awesome to have as your point guard. But you need those great players around him for him to really thrive. Like last season with the Phoenix Suns, helped make Devin Booker an all-star. He helped facilitate the game for him, let the game come to him even easier, and stayed out of Devin Booker's way. He knows Devin Booker is a superstar of that team, and Devin Booker last season became an all-star for the very first time. Now, obviously, the Suns are way better having moved on and now have Chris Paul as a point guard because Chris Paul's a way better player than Ricky Rubio. But you can't deny that the Suns improved last season having a real court facilitator like Ricky Rubio on that team. In fact, one of the earlier episodes of videos on this channel contained Ricky Rubio content and actually did quite well at the time for the channel. So Ricky Rubio, based on what I've seen from in the Suns and what I've seen from on the Timberwolves where he's really struggled, I think that this trade makes somewhat sense. I don't know if anything would come and pan out from this, but again, I do have a soft spot for Ricky Rubio, so maybe my opinion is skewed. But look, I'm not saying he's going to be a great player, but just to balance out salaries to help us bring in some prospects, if we are going to trade Kyle Lowry, I think this one kind of makes sense. Ricky Rubio just leads the second unit, helps enable maybe some more scoring from other players in the second unit just by his playmaking, his basketball sense. Maybe he gets in with some of the starting unit as well. Could make the life of Pascal Siakam and Norman Powell a lot easier with his facilitation on the court. All these things combined, I think it kind of makes sense. Will this trade happen? There's not really a lot of traction in it, not really any huge sources reporting this, but I think it kind of makes sense. As far as trading Kyle Lowry goes, I don't know if the Raptors are interested in trading Kyle Lowry, but the more some rumors surmount, the more it seems like they are interested in moving on, because if he leaves at the end of the season for nothing, you wasted a good opportunity to trade him to a contender for some prospects, for some picks, for stuff that will help you in the future, rather than just lose him for nothing. So as far as I'm concerned, the Raptors are in a pretty good position in a very open Eastern Conference. They've slipped to under 500, but the East is wide open. So the Raptors have the opportunity to really make a run for a titled push. Like, maybe this is a wide open conference, maybe they just want to be the best team they can be, but realistically their ceiling is a second round exit. So if they do want to move on from Kyle Lowry, I would understand. They would bring in some great stuff for the future, but if they don't, I am also okay with that. This is an open conference. Be the best team you can be in that conference. And if they do move on from Kyle Lowry and they want to shore up the position and not have to trade, and get Danny Green back and only on a 1-year contract. But Ricky Rubio, $17 million a year. He's got another year on his contract after this season. maybe this is something the Raptors could work with for a season and a half, maybe just a guy who runs the second unit. I don't mind it. I think there could be some better options out there, some better, maybe cheaper options. You can look other ways to dump salary back into us and only on expiring contracts, like, let's say, Danny Green. But I think this makes somewhat sense. I'd like to see how this all pans out, and I'd like to see some more information about these rumors and maybe some bigger sources reporting before I can really say it's concrete, but just on the surface, just by analyzing what is going on with the Timberwolves, what is going on with the Raptors, with Ricky Rubio. It's not an awful trade, in my opinion. What do you guys make of these trade rumors? Do you think that Ricky Rubio is a good fit for the Toronto Raptors? And again, I'll ask, do you guys think Kyle Lowry will move on from the Raptors at the end of the season? So should we trade him right now? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. But that wraps it for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, please like the video if you like to help us reach some new viewers, and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this. Again, we do a ton of videos about the Raptors. We also do a ton of live streams about the Raptors. So make sure you're there. When you come to the live streams right now, you should support two very good causes: Sick Kids Hospitals and the Canadian Cancer Society. We are almost at $400 US raised already from the channel. At the end of the day, I believe what I say. If you disagree, that is okay. We'll see you again next time for another video.